All right, hi, I'm meteorologist Alexandra Cranford at WWL Louisiana, getting you an update on what's happening with our rain. Actually, the one spot where we do have an advisory issued, I'm happy to say the rain has finished. So you probably got a nice downpour, bringing your temperatures way down on a hot Monday afternoon. But already we've seen the rain subside. So a big chunk of our New Orleans metro area locations included under this street flood advisory until 3:45. But let's check out our radar scene because there was a big flare up of rain. And now it has finished. So these afternoon thunderstorms, unless you have something special happening, they can just flare up, and then the structure of it is straight up and down. So they tap into all the moisture in that atmospheric column, they dump a bunch of rain, and then they collapse. So that is the life cycle of a regular kind of thunderstorm, you could call it. Sometimes we get the ones that are slow moving and they're able to feed off of moisture because it's being fed in from other locations. For example, a big southerly flow of moisture or a feed from the south can keep those showers and storms going for longer. And that's usually when we're outlined for a more general flooding risk, sometimes a day or two or even longer out. But these are just our afternoon thunderstorms. We did have the big downpour you can see set up, especially over Algiers and parts of New Orleans, St. Bernard, into the West Bank, but that has finished. We also have some rain farther along the Mississippi River, not far from Laplace and Lutcher, some downpours on either side of the river there. A couple of lightning strokes starting there as well with some heavy rain. And then we have some scattered rain farther south toward the coast. If you're around Plaquemines Parish, not far from Port Sulphur, and spots farther south, we are looking at some spotty storm action there a little bit here near Galliano, and some for those of you right around Cocodrie getting a downpour, and some out in the Biloxi Marsh areas too. If you're in Slidell, St. Tammany, and into the fringes of Hancock County around Diamond Head, not far from Bay St. Louis, some smaller thunderstorms here. These are not quite as heavy, and these are drifting a little bit around Bogalusa and Covington and Mandeville. Some smaller showers, and interesting to see this thunderstorm near Bogalusa has sent out one of these outflow boundaries, that skinny green line you can track. So that'll be a nice gust of wind coming shortly for those of you in Franklinton. We're talking in the 1 p.m. hour, about 1:13 now we are on our Monday afternoon. So enough scattered rain to actually help a good bit with the heat, although officially we're at, for most of our area, a heat advisory for today for a feels like temperature up to possibly 110. But when you get the scattered rain like this, it definitely helps. Our temperatures have gone way down where we've seen that scattered rain form. Our rainfall so far, just to give you a few rain totals, the Algiers gauge from the WeatherWise City of New Orleans networks registered almost 3 inches of rain, but it's finished now. So even if there is a bit of residual street flooding here and there, just be aware you might run into that potentially, but the rain is over at this point. We might get a few more scattered showers later on in the day, but we're not expecting anything imminent. As we look at other spots, New Orleans East, a good bit of rain too, over 2 inches at a gauge there. Central City, the Riverwalk, about 1.5 inches, and City Park, about 1.25 inches or so. Looking at some other sites, we have not seen as much. The Lakefront Airport recording not much at all. Slidell recording about 1/4 inch of rain. Baton Rouge near 1/10 inch, and some other locations like Biloxi and Macomb, nothing at all. So right now our temperature is at 89. We have that high dew point in the upper 70s. So that feels like temperature well into the triple digits. However, if we have the rain around, you start to see outflow boundaries moving in and out, sometimes more showers and storms forming on those. We have additional cloud cover with the showers and storms that have formed. So I think all of this is actually going to limit those temperatures a pretty good bit for most spots. In fact, look at downtown. It's 79 degrees. The lakefront at 79, Belle Chase 77. I'll take it. It's a hot July afternoon where we had a heat advisory in place, but instead we're seeing a lot of rain helping out with that. Now, some spots are at about 90. A Reserve, Gonzales in the lower 90s, Gulfport also at 91, but all of our other gauges are saying much lower levels than that for the actual temperature. Feels like temperature into the lower triple digits. Gonzales, by the way, and Mandeville, both of those tend to run a bit on the higher side, so probably not feeling quite like that 111 you see at Gonzales, but other locations feeling like anywhere from 90s to lower triple digits. So thankfully we're okay. I think on the heat front, just take your usual precautions if you have not seen the rain yet, because it's probably pretty sizzling. Make sure you dress cool, drink lots of water, take breaks if you have to work or do something strenuous outside. Our high-resolution model through this afternoon, it's clearly not doing a good job on picking up where the actual rain is. But just in general, you can see by 3 p.m., still some scattered showers and a few storms. This is 5 p.m. We're mostly at least beginning to wrap up with the rain, and then towards sunset at 8 p.m., things do look a lot quieter. Now, I'll go ahead into tomorrow because it does look pretty quiet on our Tuesday. We actually are dominated by a ridge of high pressure right now. So this is tonight. We'll move into your Tuesday. And look at this, by 3 and 4, only a few spottier kind of showers and storms are out there. This is by 5 p.m. tomorrow, and there isn't quite as much rain. Now, the other thing we've been talking about is that beyond that, as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to be watching for maybe another rainy pattern setting up. Now, is this going to be all that different from our regular showers and storms? We will see. Not clear exactly how much rainier it will be because it seems like a lot of spots have actually gotten daily downpours for a lot of days this summer. But what we will have is kind of a different source and potentially a lot more moisture in the atmosphere so that what we do see could be a bit heavier. And if we see this pattern continue into the weekend, that might cause some flooding issues if we have a few rounds of rain Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. But this is all coming from this spot. This is our low pressure disturbance off the east coast of Florida. And this is the one, if you were watching things over the weekend, the National Hurricane Center started highlighting it for some development once it crosses Florida. This is one of these easterly waves and gets into the Gulf, riding off to the west, not far from the northern Gulf Coast itself. So they highlight it with a 30% chance of development. They're clearly not really thinking this is going to blow up and become something really strong or organized very quickly at all. I think if it does try to develop, which it might, it's going to be over very warm waters in the northern Gulf. It would be slow to happen. So we have a couple of days still to watch it. It won't even be in the Gulf until late tomorrow and into Wednesday. Then it will get its chance to try to take on some tropical characteristics. But even if it does develop, or if it doesn't, if it stays just a big messy low pressure area, the thing we're going to be watching for, I think, as the main impact is going to be rain. So deep tropical moisture over us, over the Gulf Coast heading into Thursday and Friday, and then this is by Saturday, still that moisture lingering potentially. And again, that might be the time that we're more concerned with more of a widespread flooding risk, maybe after we've seen a few more of those downpours Thursday and Friday. So here's that low. We'll just look at our European model, for example, really quickly, just to give you the general setup of what's going to happen. It crosses into the Gulf. We have a surface high out to the west of it, dominating our weather through Tuesday. Wednesday, we start to see it out over these warm waters, and that's when we might start to see that kind of low pressure swirl, more tropical kind of look to the system. And then it gets pulled because of a big high off to the east, off to our part of Louisiana maybe, and the surface low, if it does manage to strengthen a little bit, will be moving inland at that point by Friday. Now that moisture though with it is going to linger, and we will see if this system sort of slows down with a lot of this moisture and some rounds of rain into the weekend. And as I've said, that is really more the bigger concern. Now, actually, our rainfall forecast for the next 7 days, this could easily change. We don't really know exactly what will happen with that system yet. But at this point, we're looking out all the way into next weekend, and the reds are showing about 3 inches of rain. The purples about 2, the blues about 1 inch. So spread out over the next 7 days, and especially if we see some of these showers spread out, that might not be such a bad thing, but something we'll want to watch at the end of this weekend. Sometimes we can get a quick 3 or 4 inches of rain just with one thunderstorm, as we know, and it causes some street flooding and then it subsides. But it does look like that would be the main concern. If it does try to take on some tropical features, tries to become a depression, or maybe even tropical storm Dexter, we would add some gustier winds to that forecast, and we would also potentially see some coastal flooding. When you get these systems in the Gulf kind of driving the waters up along the shorelines, we know, and you know if you're on those coastal spots that tend to see the coastal flooding, you might see the water higher than normal during high tides. So Flooding outlook for today and tomorrow is actually low, even though we had that flood advisory. Tomorrow, it's going to be especially low because we'll just have a few spotty showers and storms and more heat, I think, on Tuesday. Now, Wednesday, we start to see a low-end risk for some flooding rain, and it goes up a little bit. Notice we're highlighted at that slight risk in yellow on Thursday and Friday for flooding rains. So again, that would be more the concern. We do tend to see a lot of rain in the summer. We've been in this pattern where we're getting almost daily rain, at least in the area, and generally scattered about each afternoon. So we can handle rain. We know how to deal with some rain, but this would be more of a concern if we see that rounds of rain kind of continuing Friday and Saturday. And we'll get more information about the system once it does get into the Gulf by tomorrow and Wednesday. Water temperatures, of course, are certainly supportive of tropical development. There's not a lot of wind shear, and you saw that moisture. There's not a lot of dry air that we're thinking will get worked into this system. So it is possible this could get into the waters over the Gulf and try to spin up into a tropical depression or storm. So we'll be watching closely for that. It looks like Wednesday and Thursday, and this is possibly into, our graphics cut this off, but it should say possibly into the weekend. We do expect that flooding threat probably starting, as you saw, more so Thursday into Friday. That could potentially change. We'll see if it extends into the weekend. And then the minor coastal flooding possible along our coastlines, probably those east and south facing shores by later in the week and this weekend. Tomorrow, highs around 95. We will not be feeling any sort of tropical rains tomorrow by late Wednesday, and we're not quite sure timing yet. Could it be afternoon or more so evening and night that we start to see a few downpours heading our way with that system? Either way, it does look hot during the day on Wednesday with some scattered rain around, and then more so Wednesday night and Thursday would be the day that we're a bit more vigilant with that chance for the flooding threat. Friday probably as well, but that's just several days out at this point. So we're talking about on Monday, looking out ahead to Thursday, Friday, and the weekend. So clearly we're going to be having a lot of updates as the system continues to move toward the northern Gulf in the next day or so. And then once it's in the Gulf by Wednesday, we'll have more information about what it's trying to do, how it's looking, how healthy it is, whether it's trying to organize or not. So either way, we'll get that rain threat. And either way, if we do have that rain around, it could really cut our temperatures back. So sometimes you get these little depressions near us, you get these low pressure rainmakers, and it actually translates into rather pleasant days sometimes along the Gulf Coast in the summer. Instead of sizzling in the upper 90s, you know, we're looking at maybe mid to upper 80s for highs and some cooling showers around. So don't want to decrease or, you know, not talk too much about the threat of heavy rain, but we sometimes benefit from some of these systems as well. So into the weekend, we still have a near 40 or 50% rain chance. We will see whether that's more driven from afternoon showers and storms, especially by Sunday when some of this moisture might subside, or whether it could get stuck over us and kind of keep bringing those heavier, potentially tropical kind of downpours into the weekend too. But either way, even then, average temperature is about 91 right now, so we may even still hang on to below average temperatures into the weekend. Keep watching your forecast, I would say right now. Certainly we're going to be having a lot more as we refine the forecast in the next few days.